Hello everyone, welcome to the second lecture of verbal logic. The topic that we're dealing today is called parajumbles. Of late, parajumbles has become one of the high emphasis topics in MBA exams like CAT, SNAP, IFT and other exams, and also asked heavily in banking exams. We shall cover this topic in great detail and understand what are the different approaches to solve parajumbles. Let's move ahead to understand the different concepts. Now, if we try and understand parajumbles is nothing but a set of 4-5 sentences that are all jumbled up. So that's the first understanding, that these sentences which are given to you are all jumbled up in nature. These are all random in nature, and the intent is to arrange them in such a manner that it forms a clear and coherent paragraph devoid of any ambiguity, which means we do not need any form of confusion. We don't need any confusion in the answer. Right. So typically it is asked in all major MBA banking exams, which I've already covered. A small statistic tells me that from CAT 2010 to CAT 2018, almost every year, around 4 to 5 questions are asked from this topic itself. So that tells you that this is a heavy intensity topic, and we'll have to cover it in great detail. Typically 2 types of questions: parajumbles with options. These have been the conventional parajumbles that have come over the years. Recently, from CAT 2015. Typically, from CAT 2015 standpoint, they have started giving you parajumbles with no options. These are non-MCQ parajumbles, also called as theta, which is type in the answer. Highly complex, difficult, because effectively if you have 4 options, then there are possibility that you can have 24 possible answer choices. But any which way, we'll also try and see how to do these parajumbles with non-MCQ as we move ahead. Let's look at different approaches to solve parajumbles. Now, from a thumb rule standpoint, there is no approach which tells you an exact way to get the answer. But over the years, we can look at few of the approaches that people have tried and been extremely successful with solving parajumble questions. The first approach that we will work today with is called understanding or identifying the starting or the ending argument. Now, whenever you're finding the starting or the ending argument, something which you have to keep in mind is that there are certain characteristics that each of these arguments possess. For example, the starting argument has to be devoid of any form of ambiguity. You do not need any confusion with the starting argument. For example, if I say, his words are easy to understand, can this be a starting argument? The answer is no, because you do not know who is this his referring to. So any form of ambiguity, if it's there, cannot be a starting argument. Similarly, starting arguments typically will give you the intent of the paragraph. It will tell you what the paragraph is all about, and it will build upon the idea. It typically has no reference in the past, which means an independent sentence which has no backlog in the past or any reference made in the past. Those type of arguments also tell you that these are all starting arguments. Ending arguments, on the other hand, are basically arguments which give an ending or generally give out a conclusion. Once you have identified the starting sentence and the ending sentence, then it is very easy to play around with the options. The second approach that we will see today is what is called as the identification of mandatory pairs. Now, mandatory pairs might also be understood as what we can link between 2 sentences. So any form of link between 2 sentences is the mandatory pair. Now, typically what type of pairs become mandatory? For example, first type of pair that we are looking at is called a noun-pronoun reference. For example, if I say, Mahatma Gandhi was instrumental in India's freedom against the Britishers. Let's say that's the noun reference of Mahatma Gandhi. I can have another sentence which says, he was also called as the father of the nation. Now, for example, so in this case, you saw that the name Mahatma Gandhi was referenced as he in the next sentence. So noun pronoun referencing is major indications of sentences which can be together and therefore become a mandatory pair. Another type of point that you'll have to look for are subject matching. You'll have to look for verbs and subjects which match with each other. So singular subject, singular verb, plural subject, plural verb is what we'll have to see, and those type of sentences will also become mandatory pairs. Typically, sentences which are chronological in nature, which are time bound, which follow a certain pattern of time of past, present and then future, will also form different types of mandatory pairs. This type of approach very essential when you're doing these questions. Let's look at the third one. This is one of my most favorite approaches. It's called explanation follows the idea. Now what does that mean? It means typically when you're doing parajumbles, you will always be stuck with two sentences, as both of them will be clear in terms of meaning. So if I were to understand this, I'll say if I'm eliminating options, I'm always stuck with two sentences which may give me clarity in terms of meaning. Then how do I know which one is the starting argument? That's when this topic comes in handy. When you say explanation follows the idea, the point is idea always comes first. The intent of the passage always will be the first position. The second position will be something that explains it or elucidates it. So always remember, idea always comes first, explanations always come later. Typically used when two sentences are unambiguous in nature, as I've already told. This special approach we will see when we are doing more questions. Very, very handy for getting the right answers. Another approach that we will look at is what is called as understanding and noticing the transition words. So transition words are basically words or phrases which give you an understanding of where the sentence is heading towards. Is it an ending statement? Is it giving you an explanation? Is it forward looking in nature? Is it giving you a contrary idea? Is it giving you a same idea? All these words typically indicate transition words like therefore, as well as, besides, furthermore. The list goes on. Once you read here, you will realize that these words, whenever come in your sentences, indicate transition, which means the next sentence has to be related to these transitions, and therefore you can put those sentences together. The last approach and the most common one is what is called as the generic to specific approach. Now the point of generic to specific approach is to understand that sentences typically start with a very generic idea, and that's again goes back to the point of starting ending argument. Your generic idea always initiates the discussion, and only from a generic idea you get into more specific details. And this type of approach also helps you to put a pairing of two sentences, three sentences together and understand the concept well, understand the sequence well in the whole structure. Also, let's look at some time saving shortcuts which are very, very critical when you're doing these parajumbles, because effectively if you do not know these shortcuts, it will take a long time to approach each question, and therefore your efficiency will be reduced. Let's start one by one. So the first approach that we want to see is what is called as an acronym based approach. Now the point to understand here is typically what we have seen in these questions is the test paper setters typically try and give these acronym based questions. So they will introduce someone or something with their full name in the starting point and then refer to the same person maybe with a short form. So somebody who's called as a Karl Marx in one sentence will be called as Marx in the other sentence, and that's when you know that it has to be an acronym based approach, and therefore these two sentences will be on a link. The point of knowing these shortcuts is to also figure out the links between these two sentences. The other argument that's commonly asked are what are called as the time based sequence. Now, as we have done in the previous part also, that chronology is the point that is asked in a lot of questions. Ensure that you use time sequences to arrange sentences. Some keywords are before, after, later, when, etc. So these basically give you a time-based sequencing and it helps you to figure out the links between the sentence above and below that. Also, a point worthy of mentioning is the fact that dates will also be written in a chronological manner. You can never have a future date before having a reference for a past. So it will always follow a pattern of past to present to future. So it will always be chronological in nature, and therefore that's how you figure out the link. The third part, and something which I find it again very interesting, is what is called as a single word common approach. Now typically in a sentence, and especially when you have very less time in doing these questions, this trick comes in handy. Single word common approach is an approach wherein you find out a single word or a phrase that's common in two sentences. And once you figure that out, there's another thing which you have to keep in mind, that word or that phrase should not be there in any other sentence other than those two sentences. So when that suffices the condition, then you can say that these two sentences form a mandatory pair. So let's say you find a word common in sentence B and sentence D, you will know that the link is either BD or DB, and that also helps you to eliminate faster the options. The fourth category of shortcut is what is called as look at the contrast elements, and this is very similar to what we have done in understanding the transition words. Look at words like nevertheless, nonetheless, contrary, although, however. These indicate contrast. These indicates different ideas. These indicate ideas where there is a change happening, and these also help you to find out the link between contrasting elements and better eliminate it. The last is the structure approach. Structure approach basically tells you phrases of words which explicitly indicate that one thing causing another or logically determines another. For example, words like so, that, when, then, not only but also. These give you a structure. For example, if you know a sentence which, if you look at a sentence and it has something like this: you are so weak that you can't walk. So the moment I see so and that, I know it is structure, and those structures will always be together. So these are typical short time saving shortcuts which help you to get to the links faster, and bottom line is figuring out the links. So once I've figured out the links, I am able to eliminate options faster, and that's the whole intent of the parajumble exercise. I want to eliminate faster. How do I eliminate all these options very fast? And these shortcuts also help you to eliminate options faster. I hope this theory has given you some perspective of what's in store in the parajumble questions. See you in the next video when we'll do more questions related to parajumbles and see how do we use these approaches to get them better and effective. Thank you.